Greetings. I thought I'd make another short video, partly inspired by my friend Jane and her reading of Shakespeare. It got me thinking about Wagner's Ring Cycle and a very enlightening passage in that. But before I get to that, I will pick up on what I forgot to mention in the last video. I mentioned about something very amusing about Facebook. As I've said before, you get a physical play out to a spiritual, and it's always a twist. I refer to the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now, if you were to go on something like Facebook, for example, invariably what you're going to get is characters from history, be it Julius Caesar, Adolf Hitler, Winston Churchill. Or you may get things like the Titanic or the Great Pyramids of Giza. They've all got one thing in common, and that is they are all dead. They're all from the past. Probably best left there. And of course, when you see these things, they're dead, you see them, and there's your physical interaction with this technology. You find yourself scrolling. There is your Dead Sea Scrolls. It's quite an amusing little thing when you see it like that. So, on to Wagner and his fusion of the German mythology into a story. What's very interesting about this is if we apply the same perception as we come to Scripture, be it just the 66 books of the King James Bible or what they call them, the 14 extra books, the Apocrypha, the Nag Hammadi scrolls, the Gnostic texts and so on. The basic story is within the 66. It's still an allegorical spiritual message. But what I find is the same applies to Wagner's Ring and pretty much everything else, whether it be a Shakespeare play or a film. When you see these personifications for what they really are, again, Wagner's Ring, in the authentic, very much like Shakespeare in English, it's your autobiography, just written in a slightly different way. So let's come to the character Loge. Now, Loge is the god of fire. He's the positive aspect of Loki, which is like the god of mischief. Now, in Des Reingold, the first of these 4 evenings of this drama, he is sent out across the earth to find something of equal value to Freya, the goddess of love, who has been wagered for the building of Valhalla, this castle in the sky, to which Loge can find nothing of equal value to love, basically. Now, his words are very illuminating. As the gods are about to enter Valhalla for the first time, crossing the Rainbow Bridge, his words are as follows. To their ends they now haste, while esteeming their strength overwhelming, ashamed am I their acts to have share in. A feverish fancy doth woo me to wander forth in flickering fire, to burn and waste them, who bound me erewhile, rather than be thus blindly engulfed. E'en were they of gods, the most godlike, there seems sense in their scheme. I'll study on it. Who asks what I do? Loge tells you at the end there, who asks what I do. Loge is flickering fire. He's a free spirit, though he is also an aspect of Wotan and the gods. That is the ego mind. Loge is your Aries, your fire, your it's connected to your Christ consciousness, that inner knowing that something isn't quite right. Loge also represents us when he says, ashamed am I their acts to have share in. It is when we come into this world and we unknowingly partake in these system traps, and we're continuously encouraged to identify with identifying labels, be it a nation or a race or whatever. It's all just ludicrous. Because as soon as you adopt one of those and you feel that is being attacked, you feel like you need to defend it. So you're actually then fighting against yourself, as it were. Because we are all personifications, just like in all these plays and stories. All these personified characters are aspects of us. You have 12 disc eye poles, 12 disciples. They are disc eye poles because they are like a disc. They are an eye. They shine on a very small, narrow band. It's like looking through a telescope and you're only going to get a very small view, and you've got 12 of these to draw on, the 12 cranial nerves. And they're disc eye poles, disciples, and like poles, they are polarities. So unless it is the Christ that these 12 are with and of one mind with, they will try and pull these physical vessels down various rabbit holes and things. Anyway, back to the story. Now you have the Rhine Maidens. They are in the River Rhine, and they're singing up, lamenting the loss. Reingold, rarest gold, how wondrously bright, once did thou beam on us. For thee, our plaything, now implore we, give us our gold, oh give us our glory again. Wotan is having none of it, the ruler of the gods. What mournful sounds do I hear? Loge replies, the River Maidens who mourn of their gold bereaved. Accursed nixes, Wotan exclaims, quell their clamorous noise. So Loge dutifully replies to the Rhine Maidens, ye in the water, why worry us yet? Hear what Wotan doth wish, gleams no more on your maidens the gold, in the gods' augmented grandeur henceforth happily bask. The Rhine Maidens then reply, Reingold, rarest gold, O might but again, in the wave thy pure magic awake, what is of worth dwells but in the waters, base and bad, those who are throned above. We go back to what Loge says as well. He says, e'en were thee of gods the most godlike. These are not godlike gods, these are rulers. These are your corporations being shown to you in this story. It is also showing the ego mind when the body is ruled by that mind and is pursuing the fake wealth of this material world, what is referred to as Egypt in the Bible. This is a thing, none of these names of these characters or places are individual, they are all aspects of you. This is all telling you the story. This whole drama in the ring cycle ends with the twilight of the gods, where everything is destroyed by fire. Valhalla goes up in flames. The Rhine bursts its banks. It's like a flood reference. The Rhine Maidens come out and take the gold back. It becomes once again a symbol of beauty, a symbol of nature for everybody to appreciate and enjoy, not just a few, not a corporate select few that think they are above everybody else. So it leads me on to answer a question everybody seems to want to know. Who is behind this? What is this evil? Is it some sort of being with a forked tail and a trident and horns and red-faced? Well, I'm sure if enough of you want to believe that and think it, you could possibly manifest something like that. But when we are believing all this reality scripts, which are totally at odds, totally in contrast with the spiritual truth, we end up bibble-babbling. We're speaking Babylonian, so there's your Babylonians. Now ask yourself this. Who is responsible for all that happens? I'm not talking about what the media presents, but I'm talking about the reality. Things that those close at hand can witness. Who is it that picks up that weapon? Who is it that pulls that trigger? Who is it that pushes that button that fires that missile? Is that, or is that not man doing that? Man as in generic man, killing each other. All because they believe in defending a nationality or some sort of identity. You want to know who the Babylonians are, you want to know who the Phoenicians are, the phonies are, that's the ones with the ego mind. You want to know, well, you know who, it's you know who, United Nations Organisation, World Health Organisation. But all they do, remember, is present you with a script. I've just given you an interpretation, I've just presented you with basically what is, again, your autobiography. You don't have to read scripture. You don't have, if you're put off by the way that the Bible is taught as a literal historical story, we'll come at it from a different angle. It's all about thinking out the box. It is all about being creative. You are, after all, a co-creator. Also, it says here, even were the gods the most godlike. Well, start acting like gods. That saying from the book of Thomas about a physician will not heal someone known to them. Well, you can try this for yourself. It's all about body language. If you hold yourself upright and present yourself in a certain way and act like a king, it's not going to be so easy to do with people who know you and have seen you in a different light or in a different way. But to a complete stranger, first impressions and everything, you'll see a change in your reality from what you project out from yourself. Thinking of another example of this, it'll come to me in a minute. It's also with these videos. I was asked about this earlier. And, oh, you're so wise. No, I'm not wise. You just leave the personality to one side and you start speaking from the heart. You just let it flow from the heart. That's all it is. That's a pretty good recipe for life. Now, there's some key words. That was the other thing that let's just come back to me again now. We talk in spiritual terms about raising the vibration, higher vibration. Well, I think it's pretty obvious, and you're welcome to test this. Take a channel like this. Show it to someone you know who is, shall we say, totally believing in the script and the reality of this world as it is presented. Do you think this is going to make any sense whatsoever to them? Or any other channel who talks in terms of spirituality? They might hear the words, but will they really hear the words? This is why I say there's English and there's English. Just because something is written in English doesn't mean you're going to be able to understand it. It's knowing how to approach these things and not taking things literally, and certainly in this reality, don't take things personally. Because all you're doing is bringing up feelings inside yourself which your ego mind will feel like it's got to defend. And war. The first act of war is always defence. Remember that things that you are accused of, because the devil is the accuser, that's just somebody else's opinion. You don't have to adopt that and then take that opinion as something within you. You've got enough internal battles going on with your ego minds and the system programming to contend with anyway. So why make it harder on yourself? There's always an easier route. There's just ways of looking at these things, ways of thinking about things, thinking round these things. So it's nothing to do, it's not about being wise at all. Wisdom only comes from knowledge and experience. It's hand in hand. And if you actually look back over your lives, take your life experiences. If you've learned something from those and grown from that, that's no bad thing, is it? And you're still here. But at the time, things seem bad. That's always the way. But I can assure you that time is on your side. In the current situation, you've got this 2-year monitoring going on. Just look at the small print on these latest mobile phones. You'll see that it says, I think you have to, with some of these new phones, you have to have some upgrade, and there's limited coverage for this between 4F and 6H, shall we say. It's far more infrastructure is needed than is at all possible to pull that one off. The system looks like this giant monster that can pull off all these things. Yes, it can in the media, but the reality of it, there is not the resources or the manpower. Hence, you've now got this even bigger stranglehold and squeeze to try and get every last drop. Those of you that are in employment, for example, think about, say, 10, 20 years ago, what you were earning then, what you're earning now, and what your spending power is for that, but you're still here. Those of you that are going down this awakening route and this enlightenment route, you're seeing things in a different frequency, and that's saying about when you can get lost in a book. It's almost like a conscious out-of-body experience. You're absorbed into that story. You lose awareness of this reality and all the things that are going on. So this higher vibration, well, is it not said that the human eyes only see a very small range? Now, what if your vibration, that energy that you're radiating out, is now coming through at a slightly different frequency? Could it not be that, as well as people not even knowing what you're even talking about, having no clue, though you're speaking in the same language, using the same words, they do not understand you? Is it that much of a step to actually start affecting the visibility? So you're able to walk in and out anywhere? I would even go so far as to say, is this so-called split in the earth? That is exactly what has happened. I see that this current madness that is spread via us collectively, it only happens because people believe it for a start. The illusion has become a reality because so many have fallen for it. There is the fall of humanity. But it seemed, and I think a lot of you will have come to the same conclusion, that it's almost like some mass Mandela effect, that you've come into an almost identical parallel reality that is not quite right. There's little things that don't feel right. They've never felt right anyway, but now they're that little step further. So rather than try and oppose this, why not just run with it and take it the next step? Change your vibration, change your frequency that little bit more, tweak it a little bit more, start moving slightly. You'll be able to, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to move about pretty unnoticeable. Shall we say like an undertaker, that they're there at the funeral service, but they're unobtrusive. You don't really notice them, they're just in the background. You become sort of like a reversed NPC to the NPCs, you could say. I feel it is all down to the polarities, and I feel this is a way forward. Don't go out there on the attack. Don't draw attention to yourself. I mean, if you're going to go out there and tell everybody they're idiots, then you're putting out a negative into the field. You're going to draw a negative back towards you, are you not? Be positive. Radiate out. Smile. And see how that goes instead. Stand upright. You are, after all, a god, are you not? Ye are gods, but will die as men. In this physical form. There is no escaping in this reality. The physical body is tied to this reality. You are not. You are an eternal spirit. You are part of one eternal spirit. You are not alone. You are all one. So if you are alone with a book and you are lost in that story of that book, you feel complete. You don't feel like there's anything missing, do you? This is the thing, this reality is very much a duality. It is filling you with need and lack and want, when the reality of it is, spiritually speaking at least, which of course then affects the physical reality, is you've already got it. There's nothing to actually look for. There's nothing to rake up from the past. If you do it with something like the Titanic, well, let it rest in peace. You bring anything up off the bottom of the ocean, it's going to make the waters cloudy. You're muddying the waters. And at the end of the day, where's it got you? You're still in a sea of lies. Far better to be in the now, be a presence in the present, and go within, do that meditation, keep that runway clear. Still the body, still the mind, allow the magnetics to flow as opposed to the electrics, the all-act tricks. Remember, there's a vowel shift. The E became the A, the ER. Talking of ears, for those of you that have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, be sure to not have too short an elastic, because when you're pulling the ears so they are facing the same way as the eyes and you're looking at media screens, you're getting a double dose of it. I want you to have a double dose of it after all, but it's going to affect the mind in the wrong way. Just a few little thoughts there to think about and try and put things into perspective. So I wish you all a wonderful day, and it's strange the way we're getting this sort of warm days and then cold days. It's like, what is going on here? The sort of cold and flu season always comes around September at the end of the summer as we go into autumn or the fall. And the body is signalled to chuck out all those stored toxins for a year. So I suppose if you've got to keep a lie going, you've got to start kick-starting the body to have colds and things, because it keeps something that is dead and a lie very much alive in the eyes of some people. Because after all, is it not all about cold and flu-like symptoms of something that, funny enough, hasn't actually been identified, that can be isolated and say that is definitely the one before 20. But we're in 21, pay 21s, and just hold on in there. Stay your authentic self. You've come this far. In the grand scheme of things, there's not much more to go. It's so close to the very end. Anyway, the end being the new beginning. Don't be fearful of it being the end. Far from it. It is the revealing of something absolutely glorious, not too far away now. So, in Lakesh, aloha, and ta-ta for now.